Hello everyone and welcome back. I believe this is part 8 of our bathroom tutorial series. So today we're going to be adding a bathtub and some windows, and this actually is probably going to be a lot easier. The bathtub is probably going to be pretty easy because I think we're going to reuse the sink because we want to save time and assets and everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide this model real quick for the human that we made. And what we're going to do is we're going to select this sink right here, and you can do things called making links to objects, but in this case, since we want to change the size, we're just going to duplicate it. If you want to learn more about making links, it's great for like if you have to make a lot of trees and you want to save on performance and stuff. So you can just Google Blender difference between duplicates and links. But we're going to quickly get this bathtub going. So with the sink selected, I'm going to hit Shift D. I'm going to right click to deselect it. I'm going to drag our new sink out. And then I'm going to click on this red dot right here so we can switch over to this view. I'm going to hit Z. Actually, no, I'm not going to go into shading or wireframe. And I'm going to turn back on our human real quick. Where is he at? Yeah, there he is. So here's our human model. And I guess I will go into wireframe for this one because it's easier to see this outline right here. So with the new bathtub selected, what we're going to do is we're actually going to scale it in object mode instead of edit mode, just because we can always reset it if we have to or if we need to. So I'm going to hit S and I'm just going to drag it out a bit. So you see now it's a lot bigger, and if we drag it down, kind of comparing it to the human, I think we could also scale it up a bit. So I'm going to hit S and then Z, and we're just going to scale it up so it's a bit taller. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to drag it towards the wall a bit, and let's see what it looks like. So it still looks a little small. It should probably be a bit wider. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit S, I'm going to hit X, and we can just drag it out a bit. That looks pretty good. And I think it needs to be a little bit thicker, so I'm going to hit S, and then I'm going to hit Y, bump it out a bit more. And we were in object mode that entire time, so I'm going to go back to solid mode. And yeah, that looks pretty good. It's actually sticking out of the wall a bit, so let's bring it in a little bit. And yeah, there we go. So that actually looks pretty neat. The walls actually look it looks a little too roomy in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this in a bit more. I think that the tub should be, I think that's, maybe bump it back a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the room, and I'm going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to hit face select. I'm going to hit Alt A to deselect everything. I'm going to click this face right here. I'm going to turn on the arrows again, and I'm just going to drag it in a bit. I want to leave a little bit of room though. I'm going to hit Tab to get out of edit mode, and there we go. So I think that looks pretty good. And what we can do is we can also reuse this little sink over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Shift D. I'm going to drag it over. I'm going to hit Alt R to reset the rotation, so now it's facing forward again. I'm going to drag it to the edge of the bathtub here, and I'm going to hit S to scale it, and then I'm going to hit S and Z to scale it up a bit. So I think that should be on the side of the wall. I think that looks pretty cool. Actually, I'm going to hit Alt S to set it back to its default scale. Can I do that? Oh, sorry, I hit Alt S to set it back to default scale. Because I should probably, yeah, we're going to do that a bit differently. So this is default scale. I'm just going to hit S to scale it up again. That's probably fine. And then I'm going to move this bathtub out a little bit. And then I'm going to click on this green dot to get in this side view. I'm going to put it towards this. I'm going to make two of them, so like a hot and cold scenario. And then I'm going to switch to the side view over here with that red dot, move it there. And then I'm going to hit R to rotate it, and you can actually type in numbers. So I'm going to type in 180, and it's, I'm going to hit R, I'm going to hit Z to lock it in the Z, and I'm going to type in 180, and that'll just flip it around real quick. So I like the size, but we should stretch it to the bottom. Now, if I were to hit S and Z, you can see it kind of deforms a bit. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it down a bit so that it's like just over the bathtub. think that looks fine. And then I'm going to tab into edit mode, and then I'm going to hit Alt A to deselect everything. And I'm going to come down here, I'm going to go into edge select, and I'm just going to select this edge loop, and I'm just going to drag it down so it's sticking through the floor a little bit. There, that should be good. So now we kind of have like a hot and cold dial right here. So I'm going to, I think we should probably add some more geometry to make it look like it's got a like a shutoff valve, you know? So I think I'll do that right now. So I'm just going to make a quick little dial for it. I'm going to just click, I'm going to select the 3D cursor, I'm just going to click on the object, I'm going to hit Shift A, and let's just add a cylinder. Okay, and then I'm going to tab into edit mode, I'm going to scale this cylinder down with S, and I'm going to rotate it along the Y axis. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And then I'm going to tab out of edit mode, select the arrows, move it a bit, tab back into edit mode, I'm going to scale it down, tab out of edit mode, I'm going to drag it in a bit. And you kind of get used to these hotkeys after a while, so don't worry about it too much. I kind of like the minimalist look that it's got going on, so I'm going to tab back into edit mode, I'm going to hit S to scale, I'm going to scale it along the X, and I'm just going to kind of loop it up a bit, I'm going to pull it a little bit out. And I'm going to go to Object, Shade Smooth, and I think that looks good, but we need to close off this end here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, I'm going to hit E once, and I'm going to just right click, and then I'm going to scale it a little bit, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a supporting loop because so the shading isn't as harsh, because I don't want to add a bevel modifier for something so simple. I'm going to hit E one more time, and then right click again, and then I'm going to hit Alt M, and then to center. You see we have like a neat little shutoff valve. It looks very minimalistic. It might not be very realistic, but I think it looks cool. So now what we can do is we probably add this thing to that little valve over there. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to make another one. So I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to hit Shift D and then right click and then drag it over. And it doesn't look quite centered, so I'm going to select both of those by clicking one and then shift clicking the other. I'm going to pull it over. I'm just going to kind of even those out. I'm going to click this thing, and I'm going to Shift D it, and then right click, drag it over. And remember that there's an empty side over here. You see it right there? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit R and then Z, so I can rotate it around the Z, and then type 180. So now that open end is on this side. And then I'm just going to drag it in. That looks close enough. And then Alt A to deselect. So that looks cool. And I'm going to select this little thing right here. And I think I'm just going to press Shift D and then right click. I'm going to be lazy. I'm just going to drag it over. Just kind of get it in this general direction of this little thing right here. Yep. And then since it's so I'm scrolling in and it's not letting me scroll in any further, and that's because my selected object is probably somewhere over here. So I'm gonna just click on this faucet and then hit the period button so I can get in a bit closer. And then I'm gonna take this and see now the open end is on this side. So I'm gonna R Z and then type in 180. I'm gonna pull it over here. I'm gonna hit Tab. I'm gonna hit A to select everything. I'm going to hit S to scale it down, about there, and then I'm going to hit Tab again to get out of edit mode and just kind of pull it over. And it looks like it could be rotated a bit, so I'm going to hit R and Z, just rotate it manually. That looks pretty good. So that what I just did was kind of sloppy, but you know, for simple objects like that, you don't have to get too complicated with it. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to come back here, I'm going to click all of these objects, and I'm going to hit Control J to join them all together, so now they're all one object. And I'm also going to do this while I'm here, is I'm going to set the origin. So see this little dot right here? This is like the foundation for all your objects, like where their like home point is. So what I'm going to do for this object is I'm going to go up to Object, I'm going to hit Set Origin, and you can have the program kind of put it in the center. So you can either do center of mass or center of volume or center of surface or center of mass. In this case, I'm going to do mass. It's not too big of a deal, but you see it basically kind of tries to center it the best it can. For something like this, since it's supposed to be sticking out of the ground, it might be best if you put it at the bottom, but it's not too big of a deal in this point. In this case, I just didn't want it to be anywhere weird off to the side. And I'm also going to come over here to the sink and connect these two by selecting them and hitting Control J. And then I'm going to do the same thing with that origin point. Set origin center. So there we go. I'm also going to save real quick, Control S. So you can see our bathroom's kind of coming together. Everything looks pretty nice. So what time is it? So we have about 5 minutes left in this recording. So I'm going to quickly add those windows. They're actually pretty easy. Let me check the reference again real quick. So now these windows actually have a lot of molding, so we're probably going to have to cover that in the next video. But what we can do is we can cut some pretty basic holes right now. So you could do a couple things. You could tab into edit mode and you can add some loop cuts and you can kind of cut out a window that way, you know. But in this case, we're going to use a modifier to do this. I actually learned this from Blender Guru, and if you haven't watched Blender Guru's videos about Blender stuff, he's much better than me. He just hasn't quite gotten around to 2.8 yet, so I'm trying to jump the gun on that. But anyways, this is his method for adding windows. So what you can do is we're going to hit let me see. Yeah, Shift C to recenter our 3D cursor. And then I'm going to hit Shift A, and I'm going to add a cube real quick. And I'm going to pull it up, and then I'm going to hit S, or tab into edit mode, and then hit S, and then scale it. SZ, scale it up. SX to scale it in, and then SY to kind of spread it out a bit, so it's more of like a thin rectangle. I'm going to tab out of edit mode, and I'm going to drag it over here, and I'm going to place it right around here. So I'm making sure that it is for sure intersecting, because what we're going to do is we're going to use a modifier to cut out a window here. So I think that looks about good. We could probably tab into edit mode and then shift it along the Y a bit to scale it down. I think that looks fine. So I'm going to tab back out of edit mode. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a temporary cut. So we're going to select, first we're going to hit Alt A to deselect everything. Now first we're going to select the thing we want to use to cut, and then we're going to shift click the, oh, did it deselect it? Can't tell if it did. Okay, I don't think it did. So I'm gonna Alt A and start over. So it's kind of hard to see, but I'm making sure this is selected. I'm gonna shift click the room. So when you shift click, it makes the last thing you clicked the active object. So now the room is the active object. So if I go to add modifier, I'm going to we're gonna just select the room first, making sure it's the only thing selected, and we're gonna add a Boolean modifier. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna select this eyedropper, and then we're gonna select this cube. And you notice it deleted everything because it's set to intersect mode, but we want to set it to difference mode. And it's hard to see now, but if we select this cube and we go to the objects properties, if we go to the object properties and we go to viewport display, we can set it to wireframe mode. No, we hit display as, and we set it to wireframe. I think I have to turn off backface culling, so I'm going to go here, turn that off. Why isn't it cutting it? I want to just double check. Is there two objects? This is a bit weird. Oh, I know. Okay. Yeah, this is a quick fix. So I'm actually going to delete this cube real quick. And I'm going to go back to modifier. So the thing with booleans is it can't just be what's it called? I think it has to actually have some depth to the shape. So we should be able to do that real quick. So I'm going to delete this boolean real quick, and I'm going to tab into edit mode, and I'm going to select the face of our room. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit S. No, not S. Control P? No. Let me think of it as a control. I can't remember it. Let me see. Split. Y. Yeah, okay. So with this face selected, I hit Y to cut it out of the connected faces, and then I should be able to hit Control S. No, Alt S. What is it? Separate. P. Okay, so just kind of recap. So I hit Control Z to reset it. So we're going to select the face. I'm going to hit Y to split it, and then I'm going to hit P and then separate selection. So now when we tab out of edit mode, we see these are two different objects. So then what we're going to do is we're going to hit tab and we're going to select this face. So notice this is a different object now that we're in edit mode. And then we're going to hit E, and then we're going to right click to deselect it, and then we're going to just drag it out a bit. And then there's some of that depth we were talking about. So that looks good. I'm going to hit tab again to exit edit mode, and what we're going to do is we're going to re-add that cube. So I'm going to add the cube in, Shift A, and then I'm going to drag it up, and I'm going to turn back on back face culling so we can see through. We're going to go tab, we're going to hit S and then X and scale it down, SZ to scale it up a little bit, and then SY to scale it in a little bit. Hit tab again, we're going to pull it back here. We're going to place it on the wall about where we think the window would be. Right there. And then again, we're going to select, we're going to turn on back face culling. Now, one thing is, since we split this object, we need to reset the normals because it's a bit different from the walls of our room. So we're going to go to Object. We're going to go to we're going to go to normals. Sorry. No, we need to be in edit mode. So we're going to be in edit mode. We're going to hit A to select everything. Then we're going to go to face, I believe. No, mesh. Yeah, mesh, normals. And we're going to go recalculate outside. So that way it's going to recalculate it and make it like a normal box, which in this case we want. And then, so we still have this box that's intersecting both of the intersecting this one wall. If I tab into wireframe, see it? So now what we're going to do is we're going to click on this outside face. We're going to go to our modifiers thing again, and we're going to click on it. We're going to add a Boolean modifier. We're going to hit the eyedropper to select an object. We're going to select this one, and we're going to turn it on to difference mode. And again, you can't see what's going on here, but we're going to click on that object we used to cut. And then we're going to go to this one right here, which is the object settings, and we're going to go display as and wire. And you can see it just cut a perfect little hole in this texture, or in this object. And the best part is it didn't actually change this geometry. It's all temporary. So if we select this wireframe of the object and we hit G, we can move it around and it'll keep like dynamically cutting it. So you can drag it around. But we're just going to leave it where it was. So that's how you can cut easy holes in windows. Again, this wouldn't be the best for like a game because this is all temporary geometry. And if you did apply the Boolean, it would have its own set of problems that I can't explain in this one video. So we're just going to leave it like this for now. So yeah, that's about it for this video. So this was a bit longer. I might have to cut it up into 2 parts. But yeah, so thanks for watching. And in the next video, we're going to be modeling like an outline for this window to make it look like a window molding. So please leave all your thoughts in the comments and stick with the tutorial if you've got this far. So have a good day.